You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 47 for September 23rd, 2018. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John, how's it going?
Pretty good. Was
I know.
that your Shatner impression?
No, I was just pausing so that I gave you enough for you guys. You, specifically you guys. You could cut it up, shorten it a little bit. Do you want me to redo it?
No, thank you. That's fine.
Yeah. You might just leave it in that way. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to...
Yeah, definitely, because I made the Shatner joke, so I got to make it finally. Yes.
I know. I just wanted to make sure that I was done with my airflow. I mean, that's the recording mistake that most people make when they're doing something. Because the inflections and all the detail, you have to enunciate a little bit because we have a tendency to slur our words.
Oh, yes.
Let me redo that. In the case, we have a tendency to slur our words, right? And so you can't cut cleanly. You can't.
The problem is when people,
pacing.
and I mean people, Alan, start doing and then completely just straight into the next word.
Right. Yeah.
It's horrible. And then trying to cut the out. That's
Yeah.
So I just gave up at some point. I was like, okay.
Yeah, so you have to be consciously aware of pausing for a second. It's also good to stop saying, that thing, in that sort of slurring of words, and then it gets real difficult to
I should
cut
just make a
around
beep
that.
for it. Like every time somebody says and just but beep beep beep.
Yeah. In the case, because I was gonna do an in there. See, I did it again. In that case, like with OG, there are a ton of people who do this, and some people can go, you know what I mean, and go right into the next thing, and it's not a disruptor to the level of conversation. But a lot of people can't do that. It's their pause moment while they're starting to think, like, the blinky light in their head is going off that you're trying to read while they're trying to find the next thing. And my phone is making noise.
Because the Polymaticast was supposed to be recorded an hour ago.
Yeah, it just ended. So anyhow, hi John, how are you?
Hi, hello. Pretty good. Been busy, really busy. I've this week excised about 16,000 lines of code. So that was a good day.
In my unnamed app, I wanted to create sort of these like sub-level views, right? So in like a web world, you create a modal, you can create a modal dialog, and you can kind of stick a thing inside your app with never having to go redirect or navigate away into a whole brand new page.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do that kind of stuff. And there's a concept for that in sort of like native Windows world and UWP, which is where I'm building at least the configuration app, the first version. And so as a result of that, I built into that space because I didn't want to leave the page, so to speak. I didn't want to navigate away. And in UWP, I needed to understand that concept, and I had gone on my way to kind of build a environmental structure where you really aren't navigating away and going back, and then everything's reset. There's a whole lot to learn there, and I didn't know what the fluid design was going to be for that. So I built things into the sort of a content dialogue, sort of the modal equivalent of that. And so I started to investigate last week or a week before when I finally had a moment of time to, okay, what do I need to do to move it all out of one single page into multiple navigable pages without disrupting this fluid design? And I figured that out. And now I'm at this point where I have to break everything to move things into a navigational array.
What if
mechanism.
you just make a new application?
No, actually, it can be done. It's just that I had built a lot of it into one single space. And so the sort of the namespacing complexity is what I have to kind of figure out methods for, as well as work this into navigation mechanisms. So that is a thing that is like my next coding effort, and I've yet to, maybe I'll start it this weekend. I don't know. I'll just be a very grumpy person about it for a day or two until I sort out like building all the pieces, moving all the pieces, moving all the code, coming up with a modeling mechanism that works for me, that is the communication modeling mechanism and stuff like that. So that is sort of my next coding hell.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I get to implement we have certain registries we connect to, and I'm building something to add more, but like in a more faster way. So I'm working on optimizing that. And that's kind of a large, big deal for the company. So that's something I'm going to be working on for the next month and a half. But it's coming along. I've been trying to figure out certain ways to optimize it, how to make the workflow of doing this and then having to redo it for another registry or for another connection or for some other thing. Because sometimes we help other companies come join us, and they might have they might have an account with some other registry collector thing where they have all these different registry connections. And we might just, okay, so instead of having to go implement every registry by themselves, we just import their entire portfolio. Something that we do. And so I'm making things to make this easier, if that makes sense. We just basically just import their entire portfolio, and then suddenly it's under us. So that's something we do. And that's something I'm going to be working on for the next month and a half. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, there's moments
it's a good problem
to solve.
Because it's something good we need to solve, but it's also something that doesn't have that much pressure behind it that I need to go do it yesterday.
Right.
Sometimes you have to do it yesterday, and then you end up regretting something you made because you were in a hurry.
I look at old code and I go, what the hell was I thinking?
No, it's not like that for me. It's more like I knew at the time what I was doing, and I know right now what I did then.
Right. Yeah.
It's just that I
Right.
wish I had a little more time to actually treat it properly.
Your comment wasn't about...
it's working now.
Yeah, right. I get it. Your comment wasn't about the source code as much as it was about the implementation that you took at the moment.
Yeah, it was a decision. Either I can just hammer it down right now with a couple of nails and it will work, and it will keep working for a couple of months, and it will keep working for years. Or I could just, take the time, put some bolts on it, put some lights on it, stuff like that, make it a little more pretty, and then we can go faster.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Those moments are rare when I get them at work. Most of the time it's whatever you riveted to the side of the wall is the way it's going to stay for the next 100 years. So you won't be able to touch it again. So move on. And so I live in this world where you can't do the best implementation. You have to build something that is about as future bound as you can for the next 10 seconds. And you got to move on, because it's not the culture that allows getting things done in the best manner, but mostly done for the fastest manner sake. It's mostly what corporate world is like when you develop things. It's kind of what ends up happening. It's easy to look back and go, what were you guys thinking? Why'd you do it this way? Well, sometimes it's filled with understanding. Sometimes it's filled with regret. Most of the time it's filled only with regret. It's the cases when they don't understand why they should have regretted what they did is the problem. That's a 20-year developer experience, that isn't just exactly where I'm working. So, yep, that's what happens.
Now, something about not work, right?
Yeah.
No, something more creative. Well, actually,
yeah.
You can see that as the same thing, right? It's a creative outlet.
What, work? I wouldn't call work.
No, some of the stuff I do is pretty creative.
My solutions can be creative when I'm allowed to solve things. Within those given constraints, sometimes I can come up with creative ideas, which adds to sort of my experience bucket of knowing how to do things. So yes, I always looked at like coding and architecture as like an art form. But also, like, podcast editing is an art form, even though it's not relevant. Figuring out how to get rid of all those in a conversation and
restitching everything and making sure that it flows and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I know a perfect person. Just put him on mic and let him just sweat it out, and he will give you all the and you knows and slur them all together. And editing him on a regular basis over X number of years, you will have a skillful, artful approach to solving problems in line without needing it to be all like Shatner.
Okay, Mrs. Shatner.
Yeah, it's not a Shatner impression, not at all. So, ruining your segue.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm not an artist at segues, though.
Yeah.
So, on the side, I do some artwork from time to time.
Mhm.
It's been very sparse in the recent months because I've been, first of all, I happened to end up in the hospital because of a gallbladder infection.
Yeah.
And then work continued, and I couldn't, the thing is, the energy for artwork seems to come from the same energy pool that I use for coding. So my brain seems to work on that level, and I notice that as soon as I have like a week off, the first 2 days I'm not able to go and do something like that. Right? I have to go do something else, maybe go sort every single screw in the makerspace in my apartment. Just do something stupidly simple to just detach
Rebalance.
from all the stuff I still have to do for work.
Right,
Right.
I got it. Yeah, rebalance.
But when I do that, as soon as I'm like ready to do, then I can, I can do all my things. So I had the idea of talking about a little bit about artwork and about the things that we've experienced with that. It's probably not going to be a very in-depth topic because the stuff that I draw is usually inspired by my fans, and they tend to go towards a certain area of expertise that I can't really discuss.
Right.
And of course, I've done some commissions as well, right? But
Right.
those are not really the most fun part because 99% of the people don't want me to put the commissions online, right? It's kind of annoying.
So you can't share your portfolio.
I cannot share that part, yeah.
whether
which
you
is
should or
annoying.
not. Yeah.
But I've been working on some more safe artwork in the recent
Right.
months, so I've been trying to get that off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But and then this is something we probably should have. Like I have some artist buddies on the onlines that I can probably entice to get into the podcast at some point.
Yeah.
So we should definitely discuss that to do that sometime.
A little more in depth. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more in depth. But out there's a lot of places where you can put your artwork. And one of the things that I noticed recently, which is really annoying, is that there's people that repost your artwork without you knowing it, or tagging you, or tagging you on some old defunct website that doesn't work right.
Or freebooting you or something like
They're
that.
freebooting your artwork, yeah.
Yeah. And that's not, I'm not cool with that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah. But there's two parts to this, right? So there, on the one end, there's people that really like the artwork that they find through that. And they're like, oh, who's this artist? Who's this artist? And then you can't really find the artist because either it's not on Google because you can't do the reverse image search, or you don't want to do the reverse image search because, there's stuff in there you don't want Google to see.
Right.
So it's hard for you to get your
talent out there with your name attached.
Yeah, the thing is,
some
people tend to put like a giant watermark in there. I don't really do that. I have a little scribble, stick figure dude that I draw, and it's like, yeah, that's my signature. But getting your artwork out there without it ending up on some website. So there's some websites out there like DeviantArt and Pivx and some other sites that they tend to attract a certain type of people that sometimes like steal other people's artwork. So I've had people steal artwork and then
make claims, right?
The people that even just left my signature in there, even my website, and then they just did a little something on top of it, and it was like, yeah, okay. So first of all, it was not allowed by the website, right? Yeah. So the content was not allowed, and they just uploaded it anyway. And I contacted DeviantArt and said, okay, you shouldn't have this on here, but second of all, this is my artwork, and they messed with it, and I don't know why, and just take it away. But they eventually did. So
we live in a digital culture where everyone is instantly gratified, and I understand what that. So the whole EU stuff is going on with, and I don't want to go down with the link tax conversation piece.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to take that tangent. not now, not here.
I'm fine with people taking my artwork, saving it on their
As long as
disk,
you got
and
credit
having
for
a
it.
look at it. As long as they either don't remove my link in
Right.
the picture and don't remove my signature, and if they say, okay, so this is art by such and such, right? And at least take the couple of seconds it takes to see if that person is on the same platform. So on Tumblr, there's people that just repost other people's art.
If there was a better standard for attribution, I totally support what you're saying. We just live in this kind of sharing community culture without context. And while you can't consider, like, I created a meme from someone else's copyrighted content, an art form, it sort of is. But those things get sort of shared around and violated all over the place.
So if I were to draw a specific type of frog, right? If I draw that Pepe frog, right? Make a meme out of that. Somebody makes a meme out of that. Somebody thought it was funny, so they all feels good, man. And then he pees against something, which is fine. It's great. They make a parody out of it, and then people can share that. And eventually, somebody goes a little bit too far with it. That's fine. I don't want to go into that area, but that's parody. And if my drawing would have been taken and turned into a parody, I would be totally okay with that because it's funny. And maybe I won't find it funny at the time. I will still be okay with it because it is, it's an expression, right? And if people use my artwork to create another expression of art, that's fine. It's just as soon as they just link dump, mass dump artwork to get more attention to their own blog, I'm like, I'm not okay with that, right?
What I was trying to get to is this sort of and I don't mean literal, but I mean sort of the sharing tax of a sharing culture that shares things without concern or care, or aware of the care and the concern, and simply are more interested in their own personal attention ambitions, like pay attention to my website. Oh, by the way, I got so much attention, I put ads on it and I'm making money. Free money. Like, we live in this culture, and it's a big violation. That's all over YouTube, and it's all over Facebook, and it's called freebooting, and people do this a lot. Same thing in the fly-by-night t-shirt companies. They illegally copyright stuff all the time, and they're sharing someone else's artwork without concern or consideration, and they call it, well, it's a parody, fair use, and they make 2,000 of them. They make their $20,000-$30,000 or $50,000-$100,000, and then they stop making them.
Yeah, but that's not parody, right? So
I agree with that. And so, but my point was,
I see a lot of artists online on Tumblr and other places where they run into that problem where they created something really cute or something, and somebody else like took that picture and put it onto on Redbubble or something else somewhere else. Like what's the other company that did this?
Cafe Press.
Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah, but there are a ton of them. Yeah, there are a ton of them. My whole point was not to live in this tangent, but as to point out, there is like when it comes to definitely with artwork or art forms, there is a definitely a big violation of copyright. Fair use does not apply stuff, and I'm not talking about big media companies or property owners like Disney. I mean, there's a lot of like violation occurrences that happen, and people do it all the time without concern or care to the original artist. And if there's a way to do that intelligently and attribute it back to the original artist, I would be totally cool about that.
Well, if you take, for example, a movie, the copyright stuff should be attached to the people that worked on it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So an equal amount of parts that they worked on it. Right. So if you have a piece of artwork and it's copyrighted to you, you, as soon as you die, that copyright ceases to be, valuable to anybody because, no longer attached to you.
Right. Unless you've done something legal and that was the way that you earn money in life.
Well, that's the thing with Disney, for example. Disney has been pushing for longer and longer copyright terms because they want to keep everything attached to it. And Disney, come at me. I'm not going to draw your mouse though, because I don't want to get into trouble.
Right. So anyhow, that stuff is a concern, and people should be aware of it. I didn't want to stay in this sort of, we want to talk about art. My art forms are different. They're not literal artwork. My art forms have been me creating music videos like AMVs. I wouldn't call it necessarily
well,
an
I
art.
find it silly that people make that distinction, right? So if you...
To me, it was an art form.
If your form of art is creating a beautiful piece of code or creating a beautiful piece of video that you slap together, even the concept of you seeing that if you put these two together, right, that makes for an interesting combination that you can share with other people, and other people might enjoy it. I think that is art on its own. As soon as it is enjoyable by other people and you made it, then it is your artwork. The problem arises when people try to copy it and start
capitalize off of it. Capitalize in a way where you not where you where they've stripped away or violated your permission or authorization.
Yeah, but as soon as they contribute to it, then you see I see something different. Right, if you contribute, if say I make some artwork and you decide to use that for a music video, and you animate, for example, one of the characters, and you have have the character doing something, and that turns to be very popular, that benefits me as well because my artwork is being used, although probably not,
within your.
I'm not probably not getting paid for it, but
so I made the music videos because. When I was in high school, the edge of high school, when I was a teenager, I went to a performing arts camp. I learned how to edit with actual linear editing equipment. And then in high school, I had some access to some better versions of that, which was really a rarity in a public school system. And then when I was off towards college, it was media and communications, and I learned non-linear editing stuff on my own. So the correlation of all this is that was a path I was taking before the internet really was a thing. Then it became a thing, and I thought, oh, okay. And then I was interested in other side hobby things like anime. And that's where AMVs came in. And those two things that I've already kind of built a little bit of a skill for that I wanted to continue to explore grew together. And I made AMV music videos. And then all of a sudden I'm in contests, and all of a sudden I'm winning awards. And then all of a sudden I'm getting invited to one of the anime conventions that spends more than half of its attention focused on AMV creators and celebrates the AMV community, not necessarily the individuals. While some of us were being celebrated by the community because we're given panels and we talk about the art form, even though it's all sort of in the gray area of illegal. There is an art there, and that's where my creative outlets went. And then I went to work, and it was a different thing. And so for me, there's lots of art forms, and for me, a lot of creative outlets. But I don't draw like you draw. I don't draw. I make logos. Okay, I know I'm handy with Illustrator. I'm handy with Photoshop. I can get around. I do things, and that's it. But don't ask me to draw, the Mona Lisa. I'm not that person's capable of doing that, replicating that in Illustrator or in Photoshop or even with Paint.
Well, then again, the question is, if you are replicating something else, if you're doing something else, based on something else, right? Is that art? Now, if you were to create your own version of Mona Lisa, which is like you have like the original painting, and you think, okay, well, it'd be nicer if she frowned, right? Or if she's like really unhappy, or if there's like demons swirling in the background or something.
Right. And if you went out and you painted that yourself, that is your artwork. If you go take a high quality scan and then Photoshop the frowny thing and then mosaic it and make it 8-bit and call it your artwork, that's more of a gray area because you took the original art and then you distorted it.
If you take like a concept, like for example, when I was in Philadelphia when Obama was being elected, there were these hope posters like Obama, like blue things,
Shepherd Furry, the
Shepherd and so there was a little picture of Obama with like hope, and then there was Will Smith below it, fresh.
I don't think I saw that one.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But
okay.
like but that's creative. That's artwork because you're making a statement with your artwork. You're designing something and you're seeing a funny thing or a serious thing or a story or something else. Like writing is a form of art because you are creating something. You're creating a space, you're changing how people feel, and that's so, I don't know. That is artwork, and it's not the I'm slapping something on a t-shirt because I want to make money off it, right? And some people there's people that go out and abuse that pattern with artists, right? So most of the artists have this like concept where they're doing it because they want to, because they have to have a creative outlet.
Yeah.
And some people try to abuse that, right? So there's the for exposure. If you've seen that Twitter account, that's pretty funny. No. People, I get this all the time, right? So people on my Tumblr inbox is open. I get this so many times. Can you draw this and this character? Yeah, sure, pay me. And they're like,
I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Oh, how much is it then? Yeah, that's such and such. Oh, yeah, it's a little bit expensive. I didn't know.
Right.
And those are the nice people because they didn't realize that it was going to cost money. But then there's also the people that go really bananas and they get really offended that you dare charge for the artwork.
Your skills. Yeah.
I'm like, but you're doing something creative, right? So why should I pay you for it? I'm like, what?
And I think that's where the blurring line was, and that was
you
what
want me to draw this, right? So how if you ask somebody to build a house, would you expect them to do it for free because it's their creative outlet, their design? I mean, come on, man.
I think that's where the line blurs a lot, and that was what before whatever tangent has got us here, tangents I should say that got us here, was that I think we have sort of a general problem online, and then it is sort of changed the psychology of individuals, that this sort of entitlement factor. I liked it. It gave me a happy feeling. I want to share the happy feeling. Repost. Mine. And that happens a lot. And then those who violate that and then turn it into a profiteer from it, the freebooters, there's a ton of those.
Even if they're just profiteering it for the attention, right? So the attention is
agree with that.
For the person that actually made it.
And if those who violate that a lot, people with a verified check mark, that kind of thing. That's you gotta watch who you are and understand the context of your role in this sort of community and society, and you got to be honorable about it. You have to be risk sensitive to the kind of how you share it. Celebrate the person with the attribution, and celebrate the feeling that you attach to it, and celebrate the person and the artwork, the art form. But don't do it with some combination of, oh my God, I love this is great, and you should love me for bringing it to you. And there's a lot of that goes on, and this isn't new from the internet. I remember I was walking through an Ohio convention. I would help staff and whatever it was. And I was walking by, and there was just some kid, and he had some laptop. And, even at that time, having a 15-inch laptop, obviously somebody bought the laptop or he earned it. I don't really know, but he was like in his raver costume and he was listening to music, and it was very much, hey, pay attention to me. And then I was walking by this kid. It was on this bench in this hall in this convention center, and he was sort of in a main hallway area. And so he's doing this, and no one's paying attention to him. Then he puts on AMV Hell, and I'm walking by, and then a crowd starts to develop. And he's clearly the pay attention to me. I knew a thing you didn't know about, and see how awesome this is. Celebrate me, not this amazing thing I'm bringing to you. And I picked up my phone at the time, a cell phone, of course, and I picked up and I called up Brian Moore, one half of AV Hell, and I said, hey, dude, I said, And I took a picture and I, sent it to him. And even then, at that time, that was kind of hard to do. I said, "So you want me to shut it down, or are you cool with this?" And he's like, "No, I'm cool with it." And he was cool about people celebrating it. And there were plenty of a different kind of profiteering where people were profiteering on the attention by trying to be copycats. And while that created some really cool stuff, it did create and eventually boil down to the sort of copycat ambition. Celebrate me. Look at how awesome I am. And oh, by the way, I've been doing this long enough that there's a generation of people that have come into this new, and now they think I'm the inventor of this. And doing it without like giving credit where it's due and saying, hey, I thank you for celebrating the thing that I do, but I was inspired by these people, and these are the real amazing people, right? And that is something that, like, for me, fundamentally is like a pain point, and I always bring that into focus, where people say, "Oh my God, well, you taught Bryce how to edit, and he's really great at this," and I go, "Yeah, but I taught him some things, and he grew on his own. His wins are his wins. Don't credit those to me." My name has been mentioned in a couple NPR things because AV community stuff came up at Otakon or whatever it was. And there's like, "Oh yeah, and celebrating and and it wasn't good. And then I met Alan, and people are like trying to say, "Hey, good work." And I'm like, no. His wins are his wins. That person's success is their own. It's not me. I just kind of inspired it. And the inspiration only goes so far. Like, thank you for appreciating that. Appreciating me in context, but I had nothing to do with it. I had something to do with the evolution of it, but I had nothing to do with the credit path. That goes to that person. That person did that work. They earn all the acknowledgement and accolades from it. And so most people aren't honest about the chain. And so that was what my long tangent just became, which I know totally shut down the whole thing. But there's a whole copyright kind of violation if you don't do it with attribution. And you see a lot of YouTubers that have audiences who share somebody else's music and they put some stuff in the links, but they don't go out of their way to credit them in the video. They don't go out of their way to say, "Hey, also, thank you for liking my video, like and subscribe. By the way, you should check out Mr. Maxwell's music." And there's links in, like, they don't go out of their way to celebrate the people that help them be a success at it.
Their artwork is somebody else's artwork.
Right. And so while Casey Neistat doesn't, for him, it's about the thing I just did. And he always goes out his way, at least at the bottom and in the links, by the way, hey. But he also has a conversation with these people. He just doesn't use their stuff. Like, he communicates with them. In his case, he's in such an attention grade where those artists are going out of the way to try to contact him and communicate with him and give them their stuff. Yeah. And so he has their authorization, right?
Yeah,
he totally has their
also,
authorization.
of course, the free music archive, stuff like that. That's very, if you're doing like a podcast, then that's a very good source for music that you can use in your podcast.
And it's not easy to scour through that stuff to find the crap.
Oh no, definitely not.
And
but there's so much good stuff on there too.
Yeah. So there's lots of freebooting with attribution, and then it's when you confront the artist and they lie to you and they aren't honest.
This is something that's bothered me for a while. There is EXIF, right? So if you go to Tumblr, you upload something. Yeah. Tumblr does nothing with the EXIF information. So in the EXIF information, you can put a lot of stuff in there, like who made this, blah blah, such and such. And I think that places like Tumblr and Facebook and Twitter and other places should do more with that. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that as soon as you edit the picture, you should put something else on it.
It doesn't get carried across
on top of it. Yeah. But like software like that should, as soon as you import something from somewhere else, it should automatically just attach that to it, right? So something like Photoshop or something should do that. But that's never going to happen because people don't want that stuff in there because
they don't want to know that they did something in terms of copyright.
But if you look, like, what's the name of that channel? Suicide Sheep. is one of the things. There's lots of stuff that gets uploaded there, like lots of music and then lots of art.
Mhm.
But at first, I don't think that he credited the artists that were used in the backgrounds. I've linked to some of his videos, but he started really crediting everybody because people started asking, I want this as my wallpaper. Where did you get this?
Right. Yeah,
So
I think
that
if you do
as soon as
anything creatively, you just got to do it with earnest attribution. I think that's most importantly. But if you can get it authorized, that's the most moral thing to do, not just legal and ethical thing. You might find an artist who didn't want to be attached.
As soon as I get like people asking me to do a picture of somebody, right?
Yeah.
Draw somebody. I ask them, right? Is it okay? Is that good, right? So I recently drew what was her name? Nomi Wu, Real 60 Cyborg. I did a little fan art picture because I'm a fan. She's really good with like doing the stuff that she does, right? She has some trouble, but no, she still does it. She's in Maker Faire right now, I think.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah, she's in New York.
Yeah.
But I did that because I'm an actual fan. So, but what I did is I asked first, and then I decided to keep everything very modest, very nice, very.
Did you contact her?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
I said, okay, just can I? Okay, it's fine, great. Then I posted it, and she retweeted it and was all good. So I'm cool. Happy with that. But asking for permission is something that people don't really do. Right. But then again, asking for permission to make a parody of something, you wouldn't do that because you're making a parody.
Yeah, but somebody like Weird Al does.
Yeah, I understand because
and it's not because it's a legal thing. It's because he had a moral compass on the subject. It's like, hey, I'm gonna do this. Are you okay with that? And some of those people would say, can we do this together? And I go, yes, absolutely. And that's...
Did you see the thing where he did don't take an axe to my star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
No, I did
Unless
not.
I do something horrible, but then that's fine.
Oh no, I did not. I am subscribed to his YouTube channel, but I have not seen anything recent activity from it, and I don't generally follow him about online.
He recently got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh, okay.
And you know what happened to someone's Hollywood Walk of Fame star?
Yeah.
Somebody took a pickaxe to it.
Yeah.
So that was his remark with him. That was funny.
Yeah. And so, I mean,
I'm surprised it took that long for him to get a star, though.
Yeah, you can. And that's the thing, especially if you're in a role of responsibility and you have resources, you can. And whether you ask a favor of a friend to say, hey, can you help me out with this? Absolutely. But when you start asking for a vital component of their time where it can sacrifice the things the way they live in life, you got to understand there's got to be some financial compensation involved, because if people want me to help them produce their podcast and it's a 24/7 thing, you should pay me, right? That's a talent, that's an art, that's a gift I have to some degree, and I am happy to help people that are worth helping, and I don't do it with any intention that they're gonna go ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. But if somebody does a favor for you in a creative area, put it in the back of your head that if this becomes a wildly successful thing for you, that you should compensate the people that had helped you get there in your past and that are helping you maintain staying there. And that's it. So I know we went down a whole serious degrade of tangent, which is not where you wanted to talk about. You just want to talk about artwork and forms. For me, I have creative outlets, and whether you can look at it in the hindsight and go, oh, that was really creative. I'm doing lots of things that I don't point out. In the interview community stuff, I used to do things, and there were a couple people that literally stole the things right out of my music videos that were watermarked. There was a period of time where I was watermarking everything because I started noticing that thing that I created. Like it's not just I recut it. I changed the orientation of certain things. I felt like it needed the floating cat over the picture taking, so I made that happen. Or I made a certain whatever happen, and I did it. And so this is not natural. I recreated something, and I fabricated something that I want, and all of a sudden I'm seeing my clip show up in somebody else's video. My video didn't win an award. I'm like, okay, that's cool. An audience saw it. That was all that I cared about. And me being present and seeing the reaction, that's all I cared about. I just wanted to see what other people felt about it. But then someone takes it, royally just rips it off. They rip off whatever the special thing that I did, not because they're being cheap, like I don't want to have to pay X number of dollars to get the whole thing on DVD. Like, yeah, I get that. That's a bullshit complaint. But my point about that is, like, and then they rip you off, and then they win an award, and they go, hey, look at me, I'm so great. And they don't even bother to say, oh, by the way, these people are also great. They help make this thing, right? And that's kind of like a crappy thing. And there was a lot of that in the AV community, and a lot of that stuff happened to a lot of my videos, and I started to watermark them in a way that, like, where I'm using After Effects to watermark it. It's a part of the animation. You can't royally just chop it off, crop it, and zoom it in and make it go away. Like, it's not like that. I went out of my way to do something that was like, hey, this is mine, man. I mean, mine in the context of, this is mine for the context of this thing. And that did slow people down on their ripping me off. Not because the work was less appealing to rip off, but because they clearly knew they were going to get caught and exposed. And so that was part of it. I just wanted it to be the thing I did, not the thing that wasn't being celebrated by other people. I just really had a moral issue with that. And I had that same issue, like I was explaining, for like Brian, not just me, like for other people too. I have that same kind of like, oh yeah, you jerk. Oh, by the way, I can call you out on this. Would you like that?
Yeah.
Oh no. Then don't do that again, please. Like, that's not cool. Not for me, not for anybody else. It's just not cool. Be ethical about it, even though it's an ethical gray area in terms of AMVs. So for me, it was always about creative outlets, and I have all kinds of creative outlets. Programming on the side that isn't work-related, creative outlet. Podcasting, surprisingly, supplanted the whole AMV creation stuff, even though I still have ideas. I had this great idea today and for a new song that I heard. And you know, so the ideas don't stop. It's just a matter of time and opportunity. And so while podcasting is a little bit more streamlined, isn't, you know, the solving problems in the edit is my creative little, it's where my body feels satisfied enough. That
solving tangents
right
in the edit.
Yes. Yeah. And going on a couple more. So, that subtle point is that's where my art forms go into. That's sort of my artwork. It goes into code. It goes into things. It goes into solving problems. It goes into thinking about stuff and finding a way to express it. That's where my art goes, you know. And it's not literal. It's not literally just like physical paint or physical like artwork. The way we literally attach that association. More importantly, I live in a culture where you can't steal my podcast because it's got my voice in it. So, and, you know, the reason is like the AtakuGeneration.net podcast is, oh, by the way, you're going to stick me in a podcast directory and freeboot and put all kinds of ad advertisements all over it. Somewhere, probably by the third episode, someone's going to go, oh, maybe I should just go to their website and check that out. Oh, look at all this other stuff. Oh, Polymatic. I should listen to that. And that's where, you know, by association, you get. My point is that I thought about all these things and I put sort of little watermarking capability things in all the places where I distribute. So there's no way, unless the person is freebooting you, goes completely out of their way to rip you off.
So I've been listening to Hello Internet.
Yeah.
One of the first episodes. They started at 10, which is kind of interesting because I think that the first 9 are available.
Okay.
But I've been listening through all the episodes. And
Yeah.
I do that sometimes because I did that for Tested. I did that for Text Generation at some point. And it's like I have something else to listen to instead of audiobooks. They were like my audiobooks for a while. So I've been listening to them and discussing freebooting and stuff. So it's kind of funny that we bring it up today. But
yeah, it was not the tangent we intended
no,
for.
No.
It's the one
we were
where
going to talk about artwork and how we create the artwork and stuff.
Yeah.
We kind
so,
of did,
I mean, there's a lot of I do follow people that fall into that avenue, and I might follow them for a completely different reason, despite their artwork. Like I don't know them for their artwork; I know them for something else. And some YouTubers are very kind of transparent. They do. You don't really know what they do, but art is a thing that they share occasionally. Certainly, one of the links in our fun stuff. I follow Heather. I know her from Vine. I stopped caring about Vine. I started following her in other places. And
I started following that person, by the way.
Yeah, and so she is capable of doing stuff. She makes these like awesome little pins, and I always think these are good gift ideas. But I haven't gone to her Etsy store. I've always bookmarked them. I'm gonna go do this, and then I find a different gift as the essential gift for the year for somebody, and then I don't include that. And I feel like, well, if I include this, I know how unique and special this is, but that person won't. And I want the execution of the appreciation of gift to be effective and not confusing. So, but as
you
Heather,
can buy my book, by the way, Alan, if you want. But if you want to confuse people, that's a good one.
Yeah, and that is the only reason I bring it up. Though you do have a book, and we were trying to stay out of an area of sort of a certain kind of level of artwork that's out there. While you do some of that, that is not. Yeah, I mean, you do other things too. Right, that's not the soul of who you are as an artist. It's a thing that you do, and you do have a book that people can buy. Is it still available?
Yeah, it still is.
Yeah, so you should put a link in the
I won't.
description. But you won't.
No,
You want people to stalk you and find it.
Speaking of stalkers, so I've gone through this a couple of times.
Yeah.
Artists, and I'm not making generalization here because I've experienced it. People don't like it if you do that. People don't like this. Don't do it. They're people too. How would you feel if somebody would do that to you? And what's even worse is if somebody who you work with goes and Googles you and figures out your artwork and starts to try to blackmail you with it. Now, I have no I don't care about that, right? Because I live in the Netherlands and people don't really care about that.
Right.
But if you do that to me, I will go so far to I get so angry at that, and people like.
Yeah, this is not a threat. This is just a general statement. I'm very resourceful. And while you don't think I am the powerful person you think I am, and you don't think I know as much as I do, you don't want to test that. That's the simplicity of it. I'm a very resourceful individual. And people that I know who are in the know about certain deep things and say, oh, yeah, I heard about that back in, and they go, how'd you hear about that? And I go, well, this is an area you don't want an answer to. And it's not a thing I actively seek. It's just I happen to find a window of things that I hear about and I understand their impact. And I do little specific research. And then I know all I need to know, and then I end there. And I am not the person that you want to test. I am not the person. I'm just not. I've been around long enough. I just know how things work.
Yeah.
So
my thing was more about like people like actively trying to figure out. Right, and I don't hide it. I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't either. Look, I had someone at work. I remember I was the cafeteria, whatever it was for the building. It wasn't really. It was like a deli in the building. And one of the marketing individual said, "Oh, I like your video about the Wi-Fi T-shirt." And I looked at her. I go, "Oh, cool, thank you." And I'm like, hold on. No, it's on YouTube, right? And you go search it out. But somebody who is clearly watching and stalking what I did online brought it to her attention. Say, "Hey, this is pretty cool."
Yeah,
And
that's
and then all of a sudden, and this is like where I make money, right? Now, I didn't do anything offensive. I didn't do anything worthwhile, but somebody I didn't know. I remember in the very early days, within the first year of the podcast, somebody that sort of like worked in the same aisle I was friendly with, and he's like, "Hey, I listened to your podcast. You guys are funny." Oh boy, that was not a time or a day that like these two things should have mixed. And I go, "Oh, thank you." I walked by one guy, this guy iFog, and he was going for his doctorate in comp sci, but he was sitting there, his desktop background on his desktop was a Mega Tokyo wallpaper. And I'm walking by, and I was just generally like in sort of a little of a mentorship role, and I talked to him every once in a while, and he was just focused on like SQL stuff, and I walk by, and Fred calls me. Because some convention, Otakon or something, or A or Out of a USA, or something was coming up. And so I said, "Oh, yeah." And I walked away, and I talked to Fred in the hallway to walk by. And I was just laughing to myself. And so you never know who knows who or what's going on in the world. It is literally a small internet. Not a small world, a small internet. And it's not like I'm hiding this stuff, but people find me. Every once in a while I have an odd moment. I'm more likely to be found or stalked a little bit, like in places like Otakon. But usually I'm not hiding. I'm just doing other things. I'm doing other things where I'm not publicly visible. Yeah. But it does happen. It's not like it's unknown. I'm a little odd every time it happens, but I'm used to it. I'm not getting it by the millions or the thousands. I'm not an entity that is built around celebrating, YouTube creators in a YouTube convention. I'm not attributed to a community like that. When I was with AMV community stuff, I went to AWA, and people would come to your panel and would come see and I would make a video just for the panel at the top of that week. I started, and by that Friday or whatever it was that weekend, the video was done, and it was the only place they were going to see it, at least first time. And I did it for them, for the 500 people that might show up at best. And so I did things for them, and that's cool. But I didn't consider that my audience. I didn't consider that my followers. And people were pretty respectful because they were adults. I didn't live in a culture where a 12-year-old was following me around the whole internet. Okay, that's not true.
I think that the age does help, right? So
Yeah.
as soon as people start getting older, that does prevent that weird kind of behavior.
But there was
but
one point that I wanted to say is, even with like AMV communities in the early days, it did happen. My buddy Vic has a guy that literally would call him up at his home when he was still living with his parents. In fact, one day he knocked on his door. The guy was a fellow AMV creator, and that's a boundary issue.
Yeah.
And he was never let in to pass that boundary. But he paid detectives to find where Vic lived. Right? That's crossing a path in a time where that's still not appropriate. Even today, still not appropriate. So when you think it doesn't happen,
even less appropriate.
Stalk online, but don't be obsessive about it. Right?
Well,
like,
I've had people that try to become your friends through the Tumblrs and stuff, right? They ask you questions, and I'm fine. I'm very reachable when it comes to art, because let's be honest, I'm not like the top of the world ever, but I draw sometimes, and I have a couple of fans, but some people just reach out and they try to either draw themselves up by you, right? So they try to either get you to endorse them or
Mm-hmm.
try to get you to like share their artwork, and I would be more inclined to do that if they actually like do their own thing and then say, okay,
Right.
so
Yeah.
I made a little piece. This is your character. I put that into this artwork, which is awesome, by the way. If people draw your characters, uh, and then you know I'd be inclined to share that. And I was like, awesome, right? But then there's some people that just they want they want feedback, right? They say, oh yeah, so I have this picture, and they share this through the messenger of Tumblr. I'm like, okay, so what do you want me what do you want me to do then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you think? I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to critique your artwork
Yeah. And this is
because I've gotten
again.
into trouble with that because I have
Yeah.
been bluntly honest. I'm like, okay, so here's
Mm-hmm.
what you need to go do is buy a book on anatomy and go through that and then come back in 10 years. See ya.
Yeah. I mean, you
So
can
I've done
be.
that, and that's
Yeah.
rude. I understand. But like after like the fifth person that day to do that to you, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, just go away.
I had this problem in the very early days of with like instant messengers where people were instant messaging me about stuff, and there were a couple people that were clearly looking for honest criticism because they
Mm.
weren't getting around the sort of the supportive nature of people in their life. And then also there is the individual who is looking for you to like confirmation bias. They tell you the story they want the narrative to be, and then they want someone of an official's of a known element to support them so that they can rationalize a statement in their head. And there's a lot of that going on. And there were people who have, again, for me, most of the early days, AV stuff, a lot of boundaries getting crossed. There was one person who was notorious for saying, what do you think I need here? And it sounds like honest criticism, and then you give them honest criticism, and they go, I don't know how to do that. Here, can I send you my project, and then you could show me? And then all of a sudden, you see your sample work being part of their completed work, um, and without any attribution or them saying, oh, yeah, Alan helped me with that. There was a lot of that. And I noticed some of that, and I go, oh, yeah, I'm not going to fall prey to that again. While you're trying to be helpful and they're just taking advantage of your situation. So there's plenty of that. And I can definitely remember a ton of AV stuff. I remember I was at AUSA, and in the overflow, this girl's video was, and I just happened to be sitting in like front row. She was in the second row with her boyfriend, and she's like, "Oh, what do you think about that video?" And I said, "It's not bad." And she was just asking questions because she knew I was one of the people that like pre-screened and was a judge, and I was part of sort of the staff and all this stuff. She was asking for honest criticism, and I go, "Was that your video?" And I immediately sort of called her on it, and she goes, well, "Yeah." I said, "What are your concerns?" And then she's like, I don't really even know. She was just starting out. Okay, and I said, "Well, if you want me to go through it with you, certainly I'll go through with you, and I'll give you my thoughts." Um, and I gave her thoughts, and she was, very politely mad at me, and she didn't make a single change, and she trolled that video until she won an award. And I happened to be at the contest where she eventually won an award. And I remember her walking by and giving me this sneer look as she was walking by. Look at what I did. But it took her like 10 times before she won an award. And she was, now, probably what I said was honest enough that it pissed her off, that because her next video was a little better. Didn't solve those problems. And so if I
No.
was a driver but she asked for honest criticism. And so anytime somebody had asked me to go and dissect their video and give them honest criticism, I said,
Yeah.
okay, but are you prepared for honest criticism? Because I don't know what I'm going to
Well,
say until I say it. And, and guarantee you that if you implement some of the things that I say, you will have a better video and your success rate will be higher. You will. The reason that certain people are always at the top of your contest isn't because of bias. It's because they're skilled and they've gotten better over time. And that's the end result of artwork and art forms and ability to execute.
When I draw, there's like a phase of the drawing where I'm like, I don't know, was I ever able to draw? And then at some point it just turns into something, right? Mm-hmm. There's like this magic that happens, of which I'm not really sure what actually happens. But the getting to that point where you can actually do that, it takes a long time and a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And if you don't take, and this is the thing, right? Is it stealing to learn from other people's artwork? Right? No, it's not, because you're learning from something. And there's people that use pictures, like photos of people. Right. They use photos to figure out how things work, and they use that for their artwork. Mm-hmm. But if you do that, at least credit what you use. Like if you use references, credit them. Right? Mm-hmm. Say, okay, do that. I did this.
And I will expose myself to lots of stuff. And then when I'm ready to execute on something, I let it be. I made a Razaphone video, and so the first Razaphone video that I saw was really good, and the song that was used was really good. So it brought my attention not to Razaphone because I was aware of it, but it brought my attention to the music artist, right? Who I bought the album and I follow. Generally, every once in a while, I catch up and buy that artist, music. But there was a scene in their video which I completely forgot about. And again, a well-loved, well-celebrated video. I loved, watched a bunch. And when I came and created my own Razaphone video, when I was, whatever the driving theme was for me that I was cutting together, apparently I had replicated one of their shots, and I didn't do it intentionally. It was one of those things where that's what the scene, the moment was, and when I want to go, cut and rebuild, and it wasn't like a natural thing. Here's the cut, here's the exact spot in the exact moment. Like, it wasn't that at all. I just, when I was done with my effects processing, whatever the motion graphics, I essentially replicated a very similar thing. And it was not me copying. I just completely forgot. But that's what that driving moment and scene was like. Now, someone looked at me and go, oh, did you take that? No, I didn't. It just happened to be what that moment. But I also watermarked and did a lot of motion graphics in that video, whether they were subtle or not. And I created my own stuff in that thing. Yeah. It wasn't me copying someone else's work. Right?
Well, the thing is, everybody gets inspired by something, and then sometimes you forget what you were inspired by, which is fine. But if you do something like, if you're still learning and you're doing like artwork based on something else, then you at least give the person that did this credit.
I take it as a perspective of, if you go out of your way to replicate Casey Neistat format to be to get the attention arbitrage of Casey Neistat and have 15 million subscribers, right? Okay, that's the wrong impetus. That's the wrong driver for that. But if it makes you a better editor in the process, and then you start to cultivate your own unique
learning
style
from other people's
from it,
styles. It's so good.
If you try to go out of your way to figure out how to do that effectively, and then from that create your own version, and that made you better at it, that should be your goal. That shouldn't be the goal to replicate other people's things.
Well, the thing is, when I do fan art series and like anime series or TV shows or whatever, then I deep dive into those characters. Like, I go see what other people did. I go see what the style is like, how they did that, and then I try to at least get that little sauce of like that little ingredient that they have in that series or whatever, and try to put that in there, or distill somebody's face into like a concept. Okay, so that's this face, right? So I need to make it like this, and I'll tweak it a little bit more like this, and then you get really close, but it's still you. You can still see my style in this, right?
Yeah, and I will always tell people, style comes from you figuring out how to decide how to solve things. That's your style.
You got to
And
remember, you're not the first human, so
right,
there's
yeah,
going to be
and
other people with
there are
similar
lots
ideas.
of people who are inspired by, and all the greats are inspired by somebody before them, and that could be multiple generations. However, we do have a culture, especially in the electronic world, especially in the rapper business world, where people electronically just rip off and distort and don't pay royalties, and that's a different issue that goes back to the sort of a legal form of freebooting, right?
Yeah.
And that there's a whole large complaint that goes along with that. And if you really care about those things, someone who did a good things on Vimeo, everything is a remix. Perfect example of discussing this topic. But you and I clearly can go on for about 10 hours of recording this, and we already did clearly near an hour.
I will go and reach out to one of my artist buddies and see if they are interested in coming on the show at some point.
Yeah, but I think my takeaway, my summarization of it, artwork isn't just the work, and if you talk about the work, there are copyright contexts that are important to be sensitive to. In terms of the person who shares, and make sure that you attribute it. I think that's important. And then in terms of the work, there are lots of forms that the work comes from. And art isn't just a painting, isn't just a graphic. There is time and energy that's put into it, and you should reward the people. If it has to be fiscal, should be both. It should be fiscal and attribution for people who do good work and help celebrate them. My social media influencer is tiny. It's nothing. It's like not even a molecule. It's not even atom, right? It's couple hundred people, and maybe at best most of those people aren't on Twitter, right, or aren't on wherever, right? My influencer path is more in podcasting than it is in anywhere where the accountants can look and go, yeah, he matters, right? But you should celebrate people no matter whether you're small or you're large. That's it. That's my summarization. I don't know. Your creative outputs are a form of art. Whether they can be shared and seen and acknowledged by others is a totally different story.
Yep.
And so that's sort of
let's just at least be happy that nowadays you can create art and become known, and people can appreciate it before you die.
Right. And there's tons of musicians that I listen to that.
We haven't even talked about music yet.
Yeah, no, we haven't got music, and so the one little element I think since the last time.
Let's save that for another time.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. So anyhow, fun stuff.
Not fun stuff yet. I do want to talk about two other things, though.
Oh, okay.
We'll go through them pretty quick.
Okay.
I have been playing the new expansion for WoW, for World of Warcraft. Battle for Azeroth. I have to say, and this is not going to be very popular, I really like it.
Oh, really? Is people hating on it?
Oh, yeah. It's buggy as hell, but...
Oh, really?
There's so much lore and stories and stuff. And people are already, going... there's, guilds that are doing, streams, doing the first raid. And I understand that part of it, but it's people are in such a rush, and I've been really enjoying all the different tiny stories in there and the things that you learn about the characters, and it's something different than they've done in the past. There's so much extra stuff around it, like for example the Warbringers video that I shared a couple of weeks ago with Jaina, the little ship, song sea shanty thing.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff that they tack on, the story of this is so much bigger, and I don't think they're done yet with this part of the story. So I think there's going to be more coming on. But I've been really enjoying it, and I've been able to let it go for a bit because I can just not play WoW, which is also good, I think. But I've been slowly leveling my characters and going through each zone, and I haven't even. For the most part, I haven't even touched all the other zones yet. But there's in every zone there is a story, and and I haven't even played the Horde side yet, but it's so much fun, and I really enjoy it. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say about it.
Okay.
And there's another thing, a little other thing, Factorio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Alan needs to go and play Factorio.
I know. I think you've been working on me for this for a while.
I think I'm gonna eventually just buy it for you on Steam.
It's gonna be gifted to me. It's a thing that I looked at and go, "Oh, is this good? I don't know. I think I could get lost in this."
The cool thing about this game, and there's a video in the fun stuff that I am gonna share.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about Factorio is that you are able to let it go when you're done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to continue playing. You can just save it and continue another moment. Like for Minecraft, okay, there's still a big addiction factor to this, same as Minecraft. But for Minecraft, there's like, although, kind of maybe, yeah, it will still be addicting. But I could let it go, right? I could not play the game and just play it like when I'm doing something else. Right, I'm watching some movie or something else in the background. It's something I can easily do. And it's very enjoyable because it scratches that automation itch, right? So I want to make something, and I think that eventually I'm going to even start doing some of the mods. Like it's moddable, so that's going to be fun. So I'm going to try that out too. But Factorio is very enjoyable, and I really think you should go and play it. And maybe we should even do like a little video co-op thing or something at some point. It's a very entertaining game.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I hear you. Look, my thing is about creative outlets and with my time. And right now I got to finish Unnamed app. Because the last couple months, there's somebody some pictures. I took some pictures when I was at their dance, and I haven't had time to go through it. And so when it comes down to a little bit of time on a weekend, I don't know. I fight with the gaming impulses. I have to.
Yeah, but you have to let off some steam sometime, right?
I know, but most of the time it's still I'm falling back into my groove of catch up. And that's trying to fight with that, and, opposed to doing things that I care about that are on a regular schedule.
So that's the thing that WoW has been doing for me in the meantime. Like, it's like the little break between work and doing other things. So it's like it gives me a moment to just play something, entertain myself, and then go do other stuff. I don't have to keep doing it. And I think like some of the games where you have to buy the loot boxes and stuff, right? Yeah. Don't get me started on freaking loot boxes. Okay. Anyway, fun stuff. So there's a video about an extra thumb. Would you like to have an extra thumb, Alan?
I don't know if I need it. But I don't have an extra thumb, so aside from the societal issues that go along with that, the functional issue, it's probably useful, but I'm not sure that I know what I'm missing.
Anyway, this video is about an art project that turned into something a little bit more,
different.
Useful. Polymatic.media.
Yeah, interesting video. Okay, so I have one. Dan Mace works with Casey for 368. That's sort of a new thing they're venturing into. And he made a pretty good video. I'm not saying that I am a Dan Mace fan for all the things that he does, but I like this video. And he did give attribution to the people that were involved. Pretty good video. I think it's worth watching. Polymatic.link/MR. Humankind is what it's called. Yeah. Did you watch it?
I did. I couldn't get through it.
Oh, okay.
Brew.
Yeah, he did do that in this. I find that really good.
I like that video. That video was good.
I hate that video. Brew. I don't get it. I'm not into it.
Anyway, next one. Thrust vectoring air rocket, a.k.a. how John is going to make his Iron Man suit. Polymatic.link/MG. This is pretty cool. It's like he has a fan, and that's turning into like a little quadcopter, but not with quadcopters, just one
Yeah,
pipe, and it just vectors the thrust.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. So
Yeah.
Polymatic link /MG for that.
Yeah. Okay. And it's pretty long video. Interesting though, but pretty long video. Okay. So I don't know how to explain it. This is just a website. It's weird. Polymatic.link/ms.
Yeah.
There's apparently no limit to how many times you can push the button. Let me just say that. And I'm going to leave it at that. You can look at the notes and see what the title is, or you can just go to the website, polymatic.link/ms.
Alan, were you visited by like unicorns or something?
No.
Okay.
No, but I heard about this and I'm like, oh, this is a stupid site. I'll share this.
Okay.
Instead of a YouTube video, because all we do is share YouTube videos most of the time. So,
speaking of YouTube videos,
Yeah.
cool YouTube videos, Polymatic link /MH for the new Captain Marvel trailer. This was cool. I really like this.
yeah, I've seen this. Good trailer. I don't really know anything about Captain Marvel. So,
Yeah, a lot of people keep saying that, but like there's some stuff out there. And
Yeah, I don't really
I'm not
follow
a comic book guy. I don't really read
Right.
comic books, but I've absorbed so much stuff from people already talking about Captain Marvel and other characters out there that I've heard so much about the backstory already. So,
Mhm.
but this is a really good trailer, and I really like it how they. I know that they're not gonna mess things up with this one. It doesn't feel like they're gonna mess things up.
But it's something I'm not familiar with. I'll probably go see the movie when more teaser trailers come out.
Yeah.
It's a mystery to me, so that is probably the driving force for me
Just
to go
happy to
see
see
the movie.
Coulson is back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Coulson is in there.
I'm waiting for them to finish up the TV series. I don't know if they've finished it up or not.
I think
don't even
watched
know.
like the first season of that. I was like, yeah, okay, great.
No, it
And-
goes interesting places, but yeah, no, you have to invest a lot of time in that.
Yeah.
A lot of time, actually.
But I can't get through the Netflix series. I've tried. I've seen the first season.
Ignore the Netflix series. Go for the TV series, even if it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm
really looking forward to the Picard series, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's coming
going to be
up.
amazing because it's going to be in the future.
Well,
not in
it will
the
give me
past.
a second reason to justify the money I'm spending on CBS All Access.
And they're going to put it on Netflix.
Yeah, for Europe. So
Awesome.
there's been a void of several months of no Star Trek, and I don't have any other real driving force or reason to utilize that service. So I've been paying for it, of course, and of course they're betting on that. That's why they're doing it,
Yeah.
right? They get an extra $60 or something of the year for me that isn't being utilized. And they go ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. I mean, that I'm aware that was what they were thinking.
I got the YouTube Premium recently.
Yeah.
I found out it was available in the Netherlands, and I was like,
Yeah.
awesome, no more ads. Great. It's the best thing that YouTube ever did.
Yeah, I've been paying for it for a while. I really enjoy it. So it's polymatic.link/mh. Okay, so moving along. Jalebi is a question mark. I don't know. It looks like something I want to try. I've never heard of it. Polymatic.link/mt.
Are you even able to do it? Eat that because it is a very sugary.
Well, I could probably skip the syrup side of it. Right.
I thought that the syrup was the point, but
I understand. But I always love like funnel cake or things like that. I like the funnel cake. I don't need all it smothered in sugar. I like sort of that baked, not baked, but fried batter stuff. I enjoy that stuff. So
okay, that was Polymatic link/MT.
yeah.
Next one is updating your 3D printer firmware without a bootloader. Polymatic link/MI. This guy has been doing a lot of good videos and recently did a how to update your 3D printer's firmware, and then he did one now without a bootloader. So if you want to get the latest version of the software for your printer, either a free one, like one of those open source printers that are like Chinese knockoff type deal, right? sometimes they forget, air quotes, a bootloader, and you have to like grab some extra piece of hardware to upload the new firmware to the device. You have to unscrew it, stuff like that. And he explains how you can even put on a bootloader and how you can do it without. So that was pretty cool. Polymatic.media.
Okay. So this goes back to where I brought up the conversation about vertical farming.
Oh yeah.
And so this was just another thing where this talks about like this is happening more often in the U.S. On a larger scale and an effective one. This was a little bit of a highlight piece on, I guess, the company, the individual, or about the subject of it, but sort of vertical farming and polymatic.link/mu. Moo.
Moo. But
You.
Not moo.
Not moo.
Not farming moves.
No.
Cody has been at it again. He has been trying to extract fuel from gumweed. Polymatic.link/MJ for that.
Yes, gumweed. Seen the video. Okay, so what do you think it sounds like if you take a choir and you put them in an empty grain bin and then you film it? Well, you get this video. Polymatic.link/MV.
Yeah, that was loud.
But it was interesting. I thought, oh, that must have been pretty epic to be in there, to experience that in person.
Okay, so when I saw the next video, I thought, I want to build one. It's Polymatic.link/MK, and it kind of explains to you why I'm not doing that. It's a monster motorized skateboard. I kind of want to build one still, but you know.
You shouldn't.
No, yeah, I'm probably gonna die if I do that.
Another project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was Polymatic.
The link/MK.
Okay. All right, and I have one here. This is about sand, but it's also about a grander understanding of the value of exploring this topic. Polymatic.link/MW.
Okay. So this next guy, I've shared some of his videos before. He is kind of like a mad inventor type deal, but he does some educational videos and he has a parrot and stuff, so it's actually pretty cool. Polymatic.link/ML for rapid reloading vacuum cannon.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Interesting. How you came up with that video, I have no idea. Wonder what you're thinking about.
What?
Are you going to build one?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about, I mentioned Heather earlier, someone I follow. This is a video I kind of held off on for a long time, but then we were going to talk about artwork. And this is sort of an example of her just... I think we all do this. We see something in, I don't know, some pattern, whether it's clouds or whether it's in floorboards or whether it's in like someone's license plate or back of a car. We see things, right? We see a face or we see something and then we attribute to it. Well, she took that idea and made an alien out of it. Polymatic.link/MX.
And that's called pareidolia, and there's a Reddit for that, and you should probably check that out. It's very entertaining. You can see people like posting their pictures of wall sockets and stuff like that, where they see faces and things. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's not just Jesus in toast.
Nope, it is not.
So Polymatic.link/MX, and then next one is why Factorio is so awesome. Polymatic.link/MM.
John's attempt at trying to get me to buy the game.
Yep.
Second time, I think. Maybe third time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He admitted it, everyone. He admitted it. Okay.
Of course I'm
tipping. Tipping. A topic. Is it an issue? It's something we do in the U.S., but the rest of the world has a different story on this. And this is sort of a DeFranco now where they talk about extra topics as an exploration. Yeah. From his research team. Polymatic.link/MY. I don't know. I thought it was interesting enough. It certainly has context to us in the U.S. We just accept it. It's a thing that we do. But in the rest of the world, it's a little different. It's a lot different, actually.
Definitely. If you are a Dutch person in the U.S., this is very strange.
Yeah.
You just assume that people that work in a restaurant get paid enough, right? But,
yeah, so the rest of the world, that is more true, but here in the U.S., it is not. It's not considered to be like a full-time job. It's sort of the nature of corporations just sort of paying as little as possible for service as much as possible.
No, I do tip the delivery guys for like pizzas and stuff, right? So I do that, but we don't. Restaurants, we rarely tip. So it's Polymatic.media. Okay, then Elon Musk was in the news again. He's sending an artist to the moon. Polymatic.media.
Yeah. I did not watch all the video, but I bookmarked it. I watched the first 30 minutes of it out of a 2-hour thing.
It starts at 28 minutes, so you might have just caught the beginning.
I did, and I watched. No. I watched like a half hour of that from there. So I got into the first hour, and then I was like, I'm tired. I gotta go to sleep.
Also, funny that Polymatic.media, and I didn't do that on purpose.
Yeah. Sure you didn't.
No, I didn't.
Okay. So, Born Sexy Yesterday. I feel like I would have shared one of these video essay videos in the past, but I guess I hadn't. I don't know. I certainly have seen this. I have not coined a phrase in my head, but I understand it's a trope. Polymatic.link/MZ. This is the thing that happens in movies. It's why a lot of writing in TV and certainly in movie tropes are really predictable. Well, I watched something new recently on Hulu called First Humans. I can't even remember. It's basically about the first people going to Mars, right? And it's like an 8-episode, 45-minute thing about that. And the first 2 episodes are very predictable. You know how it's going to play out. And it's because of these kind of predictable tropes, like Born Sexy Yesterday. So,
well, that's the thing that happens with movies like Ready Player One, where they do exactly this. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just some supervisor somewhere, or some producer that has a thing. They just mess things up, and then they break the story. Yep.
Yeah. It happens.
Polymatic.link/MZ for that.
Okay.
Universal garage door opener. Veritasium has been at it again. He had a friend come over and break his garage, basically. So Polymatic.link/MQ. And this happens with the on-off clicker things. That's the same process. So I've been able to... I've done this in the past, where I've gone out and realized what was going on.
Yeah.
And I got a transmitter, and I was turning people's lights on and off in the neighborhood. So that was fun. It's one of the reasons why I would never buy one of those things. So if you look at something like Philips Hue, there's a whole protocol behind it, and there's no real, way to mess that up without actually getting into the firmware and modifying things. But if you have no security at all,
right on your Wi-Fi, it's very easy to come in, and register against something. You got to tap the base hub, right? That's
you have to get in
part
first,
of the
right?
security, and networking on top of it. Everything is hackable. It's a matter of level of difficulty and understanding. And
but this is the reason why I don't get one of these things, because I knew how easy they were to mess with.
Yeah, sure. Right? Yeah, you don't want to know about RFID either, or NFC.
Well,
you just don't want to know. This is an area where don't challenge me on this. You just don't want to know. So, So what was the Polymatic on that?
Polymatic.link/MQ.
Okay. And last for the fun stuff, Catacolic, or Calicola, I think is what I was hearing when I was listening to the video. Polymatic.link/N0. N0. This is about a village who most of them speak sign language, and a special version of sign language, Katakola. And it's a short story about it. That's it. It's worth watching.
It's from the Great Big Stories channel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do great big awesome stories, and every once in a while, even though I've shared them in the past, it's worth sharing. So
Okay, so the next one, music. I have two things from the same group. They recently just showed up on my. I don't think they showed up on my playlist. I think that They showed up on my YouTube at some point.
Okay.
And I listened to it. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. So Polymatic.mo and Polymatic.mp for two things. One is for a Spotify list. One is for a YouTube video.
It was good. I like the video.
And they don't have that many followers, which is kind of crazy when you look at it, because they're actually pretty good.
So I have an artist here that came up recently by way of through Grapevine. I guess Callie Morg.
This looks like Morg.
The song Siren and the song...
Considering the videos, it's probably Morg.
Yeah. The Siren is the first song. Second song is FU. We'll leave it at that. Polymatic.link/N1 and N2. N as in Nancy, 2. And I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I just thought I'd share out. I thought they were kind of interesting. So I thought it.
Interesting lyrics as well.
Yeah. Last one for me. I saw her recently. I don't know, probably like the Monday after the last time we recorded. I saw an artist called Dodie Clark. Dodie. I've shared her music in the past. There's a new song called Human. The video was released on Friday. Polymatic.link/N3. I really like the song. It's a good approximation of her sound. And if you enjoy that even in the least, you should check out her other stuff. And I'm pretty sure her new album is coming out real soon. And if you're in the U.S., she is finishing up a tour in the U.S., probably another 4 stops at this point, maybe. I know they were just in Vegas. So I don't know if they still are in Vegas. And got to see her on Monday. Also got to meet Orla in person, and it was cool. Got to finally meet her, and it was a good show. And I heard some tracks I hadn't heard before. So I clearly had heard the song in the past, but it was really awesome live, especially with audience participation. It was pretty cool. It was really awesome. It's a good song, and it was called Human. That was Polymatic.link/N3. And I don't know. It's new stuff coming, and I think it's worth knowing about.
Okay. One other thing, a new album for San Hello came out, which is actually pretty good. I haven't linked this here, but if you want to go check that out, it's online on the Spotify's and things.
Yeah.
So you can go check that out. This is his first album, and actually, I found out that guy is Dutch, which is also cool. So, Alan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter if you like at CHAESS. You can also find me on Mastodon at Alan, ALAN, at JAWNS.club. And,
is that any good?
What?
Still enjoying
Mastodon over
Mastodon?
there? Over there, yeah. I think if you can get on the right local instance, it's really great. Otherwise, depending on the instance, especially the one that we initially got onto, there's a lot of sort of shipping of toxicity or identity toxicity out there, and that's where Mastodon is just not fun. But if you can get on a local chill instance and it's about something that is a community that you're a part of to some degree or can learn from, that's pretty cool. And this one is Philly only, invite only, Philly only. And I've learned and have met some people from there, not in person yet, but pretty good. It's fun. Mastodon can be a good thing if you get in the right pocket.
Yeah. The right bubble.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter, WebDevy, WEBDEVVIE. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. Our music is by Say Unz. You can find a Polymatic link/EK. Our Twitter is The Polymatic. Our website is Polymatic.media. And I hope you tune in next time.
You know what? I got that out of my system. My brain doesn't go there anymore. You called it out so much, it doesn't go there anymore. John.
It's being shamed into not doing
No,
that.
it's fine. It's good. Satisfied. You do it now. I don't have to.